So, you've grinded up all the Hakka yet available in the entire game so far via story. I get it. I've been there. I've been there very, very often, and it kinda hurts. But welcome back to a brand new video, and I want to go ahead and talk about kind of the best ways to get Hakka off of a non-story mode mission. Because right now, there's actually a lot of different sources for premium currency inside this game, and honestly, it is fairly free-to-play friendly if you know the ways to kind of get your Hakka during each occupation war. So what I did want to do today is just kind of talk about things. I want to go through every possible way of trying to grind that up while we go, because there are quite a few, and then just kind of doing that for today. Let's go ahead and pop into this. So first and foremost, occupation war slash territory battle is one of the biggest parts of this game right now, and obviously basically, we're currently in a rotation of roughly about every 2 weeks with a 1 week off season. We'll have a war that lets us grind up a dispatch unit every single time. And you get those actual rewards off of grinding out the wards you get from dispatching off of the point ranking. So for example here, I'm currently at 99.7 million, and I get 10 Hakka off of this last one as well. You do need some good dispatches to actually be able to justify getting all the way to 100 million, but all throughout this, you get a pretty good amount of actual Hakka off of it, and roughly every single war you can get roughly about 100 Hakka off of every grind, which is super nice every 2 weeks. So that's quite nice. And then naturally, to be able to get those, you also want to dispatch constantly inside here. Typically, to be able to optimize your actual dispatches, if you don't have full sets for every single one of these wards, typically what I do is you can organize it by the ward and the difficulty being ascending or descending. So if we do this, you have the S ranks at the top, and you can press the button right here on the top left to instantly select all of them. It'll prioritize the S ranks if you choose this from this side. So typically what I end up doing is doing this, where I prioritize all the C rank wards and try and do B, A, and all the way down up until the end. On Rebirth, personally, I only am able to get up to roughly about A, but it's still quite helpful for getting info and doing that, so that's kind of what dispatching is these days. Additionally, a lot of the abilities they've given out recently, or a lot of the ability to grind they've given out recently, is in the new dispatches they release for the different seasons, as well as the off-season grindables. So if we go ahead and scroll down here, you can see we have this CCG Akira, which is a dispatch unit that released with this actual war. She's a quite good dispatch unit for success and info for new players, as well as when you max out one of her units, you get a couple of Hakka off of it. I believe it's between 5 to 10 off of the missions, which is quite nice, and that happens for every single one of these missions here. So if you max out the Akira, the Juzo, the freshly picked Pineapple Man, the Amon, and the actual playable Yamori as well, because those bottom two are actually playables, you get roughly about 50 Hakka off of it in total, I believe, which is really nice for the first time. Granted, you can only grind out units for the first time, so typically, for these reruns of this Yamori and this Amon, personally, I can't grind it, but for new players, it is quite nice. You can grind out any one of these new ones, including this Akira, which I've been grinding this morning, to get some extra Hakka off of that as well. So that's quite nice. I've been running that a lot this morning, and I have the freshly picked Pineapple Man currently being grinded at the moment for me as well. On top of that, though, there's different ways to try and prioritize getting the most amount of points off of a season. So typically, whenever you're on a certain side of the war, you want to look for the wards that your side is losing. So personally, this time around, if we go ahead and check this, I'm currently on Ghoul side, meaning that I'm basically wanting to do the wards where Ghouls are currently losing. So this ward at the bottom, you can see Ghouls are at 313 slash 1440772. Just the first three are fine. 313 is what Ghouls are at, and humans are at 320, meaning that this actual ward will give me more points. This ward will give me 32,000 versus getting 24,000. So that helps a lot with trying to actually know what wards to grind to get the most amount of points off of each season. Personally, once you hit the end of the game and the end of what you're doing, in the true end game, you don't really need to grind out wards as often. but still quite important for early game to remember that. Additionally, these little red marks are, so if you're on Ghoul side, it would be red. If you're on CCG side, it would be blue. But it's this ward that you're losing, I believe, the most of any of them. Granted, it seems to be a little bit off of that. I'm not quite sure. But it is one of the wards you are losing, so it's important to try and keep that in mind. Granted, the non-dispatching levels, which is like what these are right here, will give you less points than the dispatch levels that you actually get off of this. So keep that in mind as well. Now we'll talk about some other sources they've actually given out recently that have kind of improved. So here we have the Strike. Now, Strike is less helpful in terms of ranking. It doesn't actually give you any Hakka off of just doing random grinding. Typically, you need to try and get up to the higher points here. You need to get into at least the top 3,000. Actually, I guess 5,000. Oh no, you actually get it pretty early. I'm surprised. I didn't realize that. I need to get a little bit, I need to grind up a little bit, you can see. I don't really play strikes that often for myself. But you can get a little bit of Hakka off of the end of each season off of this. Typically, to be able to get to like these points of like first and second and third, you have to spend more than 15 to 30 Hakka to be able to get up there. So typically, you're not really gaining a lot of income there. But granted, the items are very helpful as well. Basically, this game mode is like a PvP type of thing where you choose how many flames you want to use. Typically, you want to try to get as high of a win streak as possible to be able to get it done. And you do get quite a few points off of it as well. So you just go into this, use 5 flames, and choose whatever character you want to fight off of that. You get to choose between easy, medium, and hard, basically. So you can see that blue is easy, green is medium, and red is hard. Not too hard to beat, honestly. So it's not too bad. And then, finally, what I did want to talk about finally is the Conflict tab. So, Conflict was added very recently, and while I'm not really a fan of the game mode itself, personally, I have tried to get in the habit of playing it, because it actually does give you a lot of very good items. I still need to move up to SSS rate for this season, unfortunately. I've been a little bit lazy. But once I get up there, you actually get quite a bit of not only Hakka, but also coins to go into this tab and go and buy. So, for every stimulant, it's 100 of these actual coins. But if you scroll to the bottom here, you can see that you can actually get Hakka for 10 of these coins a piece. And you can get 50 every couple of weeks, I believe. So typically, you can see that this little... So naturally, this is via English terms. This little box right here. This little box is going to be the indicator of how many days are left for this exchange for this Hakka. So for example, right now, I have 15 days to grind up 290 coins to be able to get the rest of this Hakka that's currently available. And every time it resets, you get to get another free 50 Hakka off of this actual tab as well, which is super, super nice for free to play. That means that roughly every month to month and a half, you're able to grind up roughly about 150 Hakka off of just going for free. No proper grinding required aside from like doing conflict, which is super, super nice. And honestly, they do a pretty good job of trying to be generous in their own ways, while also making you have to work for a lot of the parts of this game. Typically, a lot of the missions are also quite nice for trying to get the stuff up. So like every season, also you get naturally a bunch of Hakka off of just doing these randomly. But every single season that you end up doing 100 million damage, you're able to get an extra bit of Hakka as well. So typically, you've seen on videos for me, I typically every season make one big video where I do 100 million damage to the clowns or to a raid or something like that, because for every 10 million extra damage you do to a boss, or at least in one big attempt, you get extra items. So that those items include 3,000 tickets, include 10 Hakka, include stimulants, include friend points, include gold, which is like 10 million gold at once. So those are really, really important for trying to remember to do every single time you reach one of these seasons, because the game does give you a lot of chances to get income during each of these seasons, and now they've also made it super easy to get stimulants off of grinding out the actual war. Dispatching now, with the more rare drops you get, the more likely you are to get stimulants off of just grinding as well. So typically, you only need one copy of a unit that you pull when you first get them, because during this season, Not only did I max out this Juzo Arata up to 100% from, I believe he was at 80%, I also currently have another 50 stimulants off of just grinding out this war to use on the next character that drops during the next season. So there's also that, which is important to keep in mind, because if you get dispatches that are good to go and you're able to get like a good crew together, you typically don't even need to try and make sure you get to the guaranteed step on a banner. You can try and make sure you get one copy of them and then just put all your stimulants into them, finish them off, and you're done with that unit entirely. They're just good to go. So there is a lot of ways to kind of mitigate your need to pull, as well as try to just slowly grind up items as these wars come around as they go. But I think that this game, now that I'm actually going through all these different sources and talking about all the different parts of it, this game is honestly very, very generous with what it ends up doing here. With the items it gives out, with what it's been doing, and it does do a pretty good job of that. The game is very grind heavy right now, and that's just kind of a large part of it. But that's just how it goes. And additionally, they will be dropping more quests as time goes on. So naturally, it took us a little while to get this hell difficulty, but I still have a lot left for myself as well. But we still have yet to get the entirety of hell difficulty for Route A, which we have for hard already. And also we currently don't even have the full story adapted. We have the first 5 chapters of the first season, of which, by the way, we're still missing, like... So this is the Noro boss fight here, but it's not really going all the way. We're also still missing hell difficulty entirely for We also probably will be getting one more season coming up soon, which I imagine might be coming up, like, really, really soon, because we're kind of done with now. So even if you have finished the story already, while you're grinding out these different things and different sources off of playing this game, we'll typically get more story as time goes on as well. So that'll be super nice for getting some extra Hakka alongside it. Naturally, right now, I'm currently working on trying to grind up some Hakka before the next anniversary drops. We're getting some new anniversary units, I believe, on the 20th of September, and the war does end on Tuesday/tomorrow night. So I'm going to be doing quite a bit of grinding, trying to get some stuff ready and getting prepared. So this has been my tutorial on how to get Hakka inside Tokyo Ghoul Reinvoke, and hopefully you guys learned something about the game, as well as you're able to get ready for that anniversary. Remember, tweet me those fucking pulls when it comes out, because I am hyped. I am ready. Give me the cool units. See you later, everybody.